Alrighty, so what are we going to talk about today? We are going to continue our conversation about clients. This is actually the focus content inside of VetLife Academy this month. And so I want to share this month on our Tuesday Facebook Lives a little bit more about that. And today we're going to talk about money. So I want to talk a little bit about why we get so freaked out about talking to clients about money. It's quite an interesting situation, honestly, and it's just because we don't understand what's going on. I don't know about you guys, but I was always super quick just to hand that task off. I've got a treatment plan together, it's got prices on it, and here you go. Send my technicians in there to kind of battle it out over the money. Totally not cool, but that's just the way that I used to handle it when I didn't know any better. And the reason I did that is the same reason many of you don't want to be the one to go in the room and talk to the clients about your treatment plans, about the cost associated with it. It's because I was always afraid of their reactions. I did not want them to get angry or to show, honestly, let's just be real, show any emotion at all over the dollars, right? I didn't want my job to be defined by what they could pay for. And so if I just kind of stayed out of all of that, then whatever happened, and I just took it from there. Totally not the greatest way to approach any of this money stuff at all. But what's more important here is just to recognize that's not what was happening. Like that whole thing that I thought was going on was really not what was happening at all. So why is it that we're so freaked out about money? The main reason that we don't like to talk to clients about money is because we are afraid of their reaction. We're afraid they're going to be angry. We're afraid they're going to be maybe disappointed in their own ability to pay. We just find the entire situation awkward when we present a plan for the best care for the pet, and then the client has to say no because of their own personal finances. Somehow we take on the responsibility of what they can afford. And what we want to recognize is first that the choice on how to proceed with treatment is always a client choice. That was never our decision in the first place, and it was never our role to convince people what they should do. Instead, as veterinary professionals, our role is only to educate them, right? So we do the best physical exam that we possibly can. We take a great medical history. We make a solid veterinary medical recommendation, what's in the best interest of the pet, independent of what we think that they're going to be able to pay for. And then from there, we let the owner make their decision. But in that place, when we're presenting the options that have prices attached and the owners get to make their decision, we tend to feel very, very uncomfortable. So why is that? We have to remember, if we want to get to the bottom of why we feel uncomfortable, we have to remember that any emotion that we feel, so discomfort, whatever it is, those emotions only come from our own thoughts. In those moments, this is definitely not something we realize, and if you've never even learned this concept, then you wouldn't know it at all. But what we think is happening is that when the clients say no, or when the clients get upset over the cost that it would be to go through with what we put on our treatment plan, when they show an emotional reaction, we think that that's causing an emotional reaction within us, that their response to our treatment plan or to our estimate is what causes us the anxiety. We've got that all wrong. Because if you'll remember, what causes emotion in anybody is only their own thoughts. So if I'm feeling uncomfortable, it's not because the client is reacting in a particular way, it's because of what I'm believing in that moment about the way that they're reacting. So to take this kind of a step back further and to really dig into it, a lot of the times when clients get upset about the cost, or if they say, something like, that's just too expensive, you're crazy, like I would never spend that much money on a dog, we actually take that on personally, and we start to believe maybe they're right. Maybe it is too expensive. Maybe we are unrealistic. Or we flip the other way and we can become very judgmental. Well, if you have a pet, then you should be able to pay for it. And all of those kinds of sentences are going on in our minds. And it's that stuff that's creating those emotions. It's not at all what the client says or does. Because remember, the actions and words of other people are just neutral in our world. They don't mean a thing until we have thoughts and beliefs about them. The same thing goes then for what's going on with the client. And this is something that we often miss. It's because when the client says things or reacts in a particular way, what we forget is that's just their actions, which are driven by their own emotions. And their own emotions are created by their own thoughts. So just like we cannot create emotions in other people, they can't create emotions in us either. If we would just go into these situations where we present our treatment plans, keeping in mind that the only person responsible for our own emotions is us, and that no matter how the client reacts, we don't have to get upset because any emotional response within us is only controlled by our own thoughts. If we can hang on to that, we can actually go in and present any treatment plan, any estimate, and stay completely calm throughout the entire thing. Because whether or not they say yes or no, whether or not the client has an emotional reaction to what we're proposing, does not have to impact us at all. It has no ability to impact us at all until we start having thoughts and beliefs about the way that they're reacting. If we start taking on the responsibility for their negative reactions, that's when we start to feel it, because we are somehow underneath all of that believing there's something that we did wrong, that maybe the price is too high, or we're judging them. If we're getting angry instead, we're judging their ability to pay. We're judging that they should be doing things. We have an opinion about what the best course of action is for them and their pet, and if they aren't going through with what we think the best option is, then we start to judge harshly, and then we have an emotional response to that. So the whole take home here, my friends, is that we need to keep in mind in any of these situations with clients that the emotions that come up are never created by the other people. Their emotions are not created by you, and your emotions are not created by them. It all comes back to that basic principle that I've taught over and over and over again, that your emotions only come from your mind, from your own thoughts. It's your thoughts that create the vibrations of emotions within your own body. Nobody has any power to create that or to fix it except for you. Now, if this sounds interesting, if you want to learn a little bit more about this, I dig into this even deeper inside of my free webinar. I have more dates available this week. So if you're interested in learning more about these concepts and really starting to figure out how you get to control everything that goes on with your own emotional state, your own mental well-being, and how you can learn how to be happy despite anything else that goes on around you, then definitely join us in one of these free webinars. It's just joyfuldvm.com/webinar. I dig into this quite a bit. You learn how anxiety is something you can completely manage. And as you start to figure out how all this stuff works and put it into practice, you're no longer going to be freaked out about these somewhat challenging conversations that you're having with the clients, and their responses are not going to have to impact you at all. All right, my friends, that's going to wrap it up for today, and I can't wait to see you next week. Have a great week. Bye-bye.